controversial as this subject might be, it is something that needs to be said. We have a problem with combat veterans. A veteran of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars produced a break contact video for preppers or survivalists. So what is the problem? Let's demonstrate. So our combat veteran was using a hypothetical four-man patrol. A retired Green Beret turned pastor and commune leader did say that if your mailbox is your first line of defense, you've already lost. We get into SHTF Teowaki, WROL, patrolling and securing your territory is going to be a very important aspect of survival. Now, his four-man team, he was demonstrating if your four-man team is patrolling, we only have two here, so each one of us is going to represent two men in this four-man team. We encounter a hostile, in this case ambush front. First man, mag dumps, falls back. Second man, second team, mag dumps, falls back, go. Mag dumps.
Okay, go.
And falls back. Now that works quite well if you are in uniform and you have a taxpayer-funded logistics system to support this. If we're talking a four-man team having to leapfrog back one time, that's 120 rounds. Second leapfrog, 240 rounds. And third, it just goes up. Do you have the logistics for that? Even if you do, what happens the next time and the next time after that? How much ammo is stockpiled back at the homestead? You do not have resupply a prick 77 call away with a helicopter ready to drop off spare ammo and evacuate your wounded. So while this works for the military, it is not necessarily going to work for the armed citizen in a complete breakdown of law and order or SHTF scenario. When Cooper came up with the scout rifle concept, he emphasized that the average citizen would rarely, if ever, require a high volume of semi-automatic fire. His philosophy of the rifleman was to resolve the situation with a single decisive blow. And the scout rifle was designed to optimize this tactic and technique. And while the scout rifle was designed to be the ultimate tool for this philosophy of operation, it is not necessary to have a scout rifle. Even if you have an AR-15 or a semi-auto, it might suit you better to make your shots count and only use the rapid follow-up shot if absolutely necessary. So the scout rifle is the weapon of the lone scout. We have the lone scout versus 3 to 5 man patrol. Once again, people are going to say, lone scout, you're as good as dead, you need a 3 to 5 man patrol. Can your homestead afford to spare 3 to 5 men 24/7 on patrol? Do you have the ammo supply not only on hand but able to replenish to support a 3 to 5 man patrol, putting hundreds if not thousands of rounds down range in every skirmish? So here we have the Cooper philosophy of lone scout versus the 3 to 5 man patrol. Richard Mann, in his book The Scout Rifle Study, stated that if you're finding yourself in a firefight, you're a lousy scout. First thing is, we're not going to patrol this open area. For that matter, even a patrol wouldn't do that. They would more or less take cover in the brush. A lone scout is even more stealthy. So let's see how we can do this from a lone scout perspective. Oh. Hit. Homestead, this is Scout. Lone intruder neutralized. So 1 round of .308 expended to neutralize a hostile intruder versus 240 plus rounds of 5.56 just to break contact. Which one is better? I think for the armed citizen, for the MAG or homestead that is defending themselves, I think Cooper has a point.
Ambush friend.
Just because you have an AR with 30 rounds doesn't mean you have to use all 30 rounds for every engagement. Reed Heinrichs of Valor Ridge, an avid AR fan, does not teach squirt gunning. He teaches to make your shots count, very similar to the late Colonel Cooper. So it's not about ditching your AR rifle or any other kind of regular rifle, but to apply the same fundamentals of riflemanship with your AR. One and done, not 30 rounds on range, hoping the guy puts his head down. All too often, we have so-called experts online proclaiming, I'm a combat veteran and this is how it's done. Well, that might be how it's done over there in the sandbox. And even there, we can ask the question, whose flag is flying over Kabul today? Maybe we can learn a little more from the enemy who sent you packing. What works, not only over there, but under the umbrella of the taxpayer-funded logistical system, does not necessarily work for the armed citizen. Add rules of engagement. Rules of engagement in a war zone are drastically different from rules of deadly force under the rule of law. We have veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan volunteering to fight in Ukraine. Many of them come back bewildered and frustrated because the war they're fighting over there is not the same as the war they were fighting in the sandbox. They were used to having air, artillery, and armor support with immediate medevac. Out there in Ukraine, little artillery, no air support, little armor, and no medevac. Not only that, but they're on the receiving end of the air, artillery, and armor support that they're used to having on their side in support of them. And many of these veterans are freaking out. One foreign volunteer stated that while some military veterans are applying their training quite well, many are failing. But there are also civilians with absolutely no military experience who are holding their own. For the armed citizen, that is a ray of hope. Just because you don't have military experience does not mean you're going to automatically falter. It's all about mastering the fundamentals. Whether you learn them in the military, law enforcement, or just here in the civilian world, master the fundamentals. So am I telling you not to listen to combat veterans? Not at all. Quite to the contrary. An officer or NCO who is truly a master at his craft will be quick to point out the differences between what he did over there versus what faces all of us over here. What I am saying is be wary of the combat veteran who teaches you to do over here what he did over there under the rules of engagement over there and the logistics, air, armor, and artillery support he had over there. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.